Welcome to this week's edition of DOLFAN Radio. And now, here's your hosts, Brad Michaels and John Bach. Once again, welcome back to DOLFAN Radio. This is a horrible week for Dolphins fans. It just culminates in another disappointing season. I want to welcome back to the show my co-host, John Bach. I also got Chris Barker. Both of these guys in from Fort Lauderdale, and I will be down there this weekend for the final game against the Patriots, which is absolutely meaningless, guys. We did it again. We shot ourselves in the foot pretty much all season long, John.
Yeah, it has not been a good year for us. We had high expectations. That didn't come to fruition, and now we're sitting here at the end of the year with a meaningless game. We can't win the big games at the end of the year. And we're talking about free agency and draft. And Deshaun Watson again.
Yeah, the whole Deshaun Watson talk has popped back up. That's pretty interesting. Got some sounds coming in off of my phone, but we've got Chris tied in on my phone, so I don't know if I can get rid of those. Do I silence it? Yeah, silence. Will it do that? Okay. Hang on, guys. I'm going to... There we go. Okay. All right, hopefully that'll eliminate that. I just didn't want to eliminate Chris, but I hear him still there. Okay. Yeah. We talked about this. We've been talking about this before we started taping this. Dolphins fans, John, you said, what, 19 years?
It's been 19 years since we've been relevant.
Wow. With two fluke years kind of thrown in there, 2008 and 2016.
Yeah, but that wasn't a team. That was one team and a new coach or a second-year coach that came out and put together one team. Our personnel decisions have been poor. And since 2001, we really haven't done anything. 2002.
And a lot of that, and I just mentioned that to you, a lot of that goes back to the fact that pretty much since 2001, we haven't had an offensive line. It's not been something that this team has wanted to address. We really haven't had an offensive line since the days when you played.
Well, we had 8, 9 guys that could play down here. Even if you look at my career, we made Keith Sims the highest paid player or highest paid guard in the NFL. And a year later, I took over for Keith. So we always made decisions and moved on. If you look at our offensive lines from the late 90s and early 2000s, most of us were undrafted or late round picks. You had Richmond Webb, who was the number 1 pick. Keith was a 3rd-round pick that played great for a lot of years.
Yep.
And then Ruddy was there, who was a 2nd-round pick. But other than that, we rolled through guys. Brent Smith being a 3rd-round pick. Mike Sheldon, who was a free agent. Myself, who was a free agent. Mark Dixon, who's probably the best tackle we've had outside of Webb since if he couldn't stay healthy. Right. But he was probably the best player we've had since Webb on the offensive line. So we always found a way. Everett McIver was there. James Brown was there. So all of us were 3rd-round picks or later. But we all found a way to play together, and it didn't matter what position. We go left guard, right guard, center, right tackle, left tackle. We could all play anything. So it's been so disheartening that we're spending picks on number 1 picks on guys who aren't playing very well. I mean, you can't give up 4 sacks in a game and expect to beat anybody.
No, absolutely not. And we, we're going to come back around to this as life as a Dolphins fan over the past 19 years and counting now. All the different mistakes, but you talk about how you guys were mostly free agents, or other than Richmond Webb, 2nd, 3rd, or actually 3rd round, and further down are a free agent, and then here we go and we invest a number 1 pick in Austin Jackson, and he's horrible. Not only that, but remember I told you that stat. We had 3 guys on our offensive line out of 162 total offensive linemen in the league. 3 of our guys were at the bottom in quarterback pressures allowed.
It's been completely disheartening. You have to be a better player than that. And our general manager and our director of college personnel, they have to do a better job on who we're selecting. They have not done a very good job. It's been very rough to watch. It's not all their fault. I mean, if we had 3 wide receivers that stepped up, Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, and Preston Williams. If they step up and have a decent year, maybe we could have handled some of those sacks. If our young quarterback could read the blitzes coming at him, he doesn't get hurt. If we had one running back that really stepped up, I think we finally found one maybe in Duke Johnson last week.
Absolutely, I agree.
If we really would have had a running back to step up, that changes everything. But when defenses can lay their ears back and you get a short quarterback that can't even hang on to the ball, that just makes things very, very difficult to win.
Yeah, and I've been talking in the last couple of weeks, during the 7-game win streak, and all right, hats off to the team. You put together a 7-game win streak. This is the National Football League. It's hard to string 2 or 3 games together, much less win 7 in a row. I don't care if you're playing Jacksonville every week 7 straight times. This is the National Football League, okay? So they won 7 in a row, but when you started out 1-7 and you put yourself in that type of a hole, hey, you had to keep it going. I wouldn't have minded watching them get bounced out of the playoffs by losing to Tennessee, and then what happened with the Raiders upsetting the Colts, and then Denver having no chance whatsoever pretty much against the Chargers. But had they played a competitive game against Tennessee, I would have been happier. But we go in there, all the chips are on the table. We know it. We know we've got to play a decent game, and we looked like that 1-7 team.
I kind of disagree with you there a little bit, and only by saying this. We talked about all year about third down efficiency.
Right.
What were we? We were 25%. We talked about winning on first and second down and running the football effectively. We had 74 yards rushing. We had how many yards throwing did we have?
Passing was 182.
Yeah, but, we were counting on Devontae Parker to make plays. We had to counting on Will Fuller to make plays, accounting for Preston Williams to make plays.
Sure.
And they didn't make plays. So then let me go over the game with you right here. So when you can't win on first and second down and you got to play on third down, that's very hard if you don't keep yourself in third and short. You always want to be at third and short. So everybody talks about stretching the field. You can stretch the field on second down when you're 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 4.
Sure.
Take that shot down the field because you're still going to be in 3rd and 6. So let me read this to you. Our first series, punt. Their first series, punt. Our second series, punt. Their second series, punt. Our third series, punt. Their third, touchdown.
Touchdown.
Our 4th series, fumble, and then we give them a touchdown. You're down 14-3 or 14-0 right there.
No, actually, we gave them a field goal on that fumble.
Or a field goal on that.
But we're still down 10-0. That changes the game. Yeah.
But it was still 17-3 late. They're mid-4th quarter. Late 4th quarter was early 4th quarter. I'm sorry. It was still only a 17-3 game. Wow. But our offense could not keep them off the field. And,
yeah, you're right. I mean,
our defense off the field.
Our defense played decent for up until the 4th quarter. The defense was okay, but I think that's when you're taxing that defense, and it's like, I mean, defensive players have got to be, and I know this sounds unprofessional. I know they're not going to say that they feel this way, but don't they have to feel at some point, at least some of the guys, and it will show in their play, that the offense isn't going to help us out, so screw it.
You held a very good football team to 17 points going into the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Your offense has to help you out, and our offense didn't help you out. So let me ask you this. You look at our entire offense right now. Show me a potential Pro Bowler on that offense right now. It's Waddle and Gesicki. And we're going to lose Gesicki in free agency. So who else do we got? Because we don't have anybody else right now that's playing effectively. And that offense is, you can blame it on the offensive line, but the wide receivers and the running backs aren't helping anybody. The biggest stat that got to me was, and I didn't even really notice this till today, they don't have Derrick Henry, right?
Right.
Do you know how much they rushed for?
Oh, how much total we ran for, or Duke Johnson ran for?
Tennessee, 198 yards without Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable. No. And we Foreman had 26 for 132 yards,
a 5.1 average. I've never heard of the guy.
I haven't heard of him either. I hadn't heard of him either. I'd heard of Hilliard.
Hilliard had 8 for 45 for a 5.6 average.
Yeah.
Now you go to us. Duke Johnson played good. 7 for 49, 7-yard average.
Yeah. He did have a long of 16, but still, the 7-yard average is great.
But that's it. When we tap out at 74 yards running the game, that means you're not winning on first and second down.
No.
That's taking you to third down. You're 25% on third down because you can't protect the quarterback. The receivers can't get open. Guys aren't making plays. Waddle had a bad game. I'll give Waddle a pass for the year that he's had. They knew they had shut Waddle down, and they did that.
Yeah.
But the rest of those wide receivers core, I'd fire them all. And the running back, go out and get one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't think, well, Duke Johnson, I'd love to keep him, but I don't think he's the full-time guy. He's a little older now. I don't think he's the full-time every down type of back. He was always, as far as I knew, most of his career he's been that third down specialist and short yardage guy. I agree with you in the wide receiver room, especially when it comes to Devontae Parker. I don't know, John, I don't know if you heard this. Chris, tell John what you told me you heard Parker say right after the game.
That he was, he was, pretty much really didn't care what the outcome of the game was. He just pretty much laughed it off and just, it didn't really sound, like he was that, he wasn't putting 100% in the game, to tell you the truth.
Well, and he also wants more money now.
Yeah, he wants more money. Yeah, of course. That too. He's asking for more. He wants a higher pay.
Why
you were supposed to be our number one receiver this year, Devontae. You were supposed to be our number one receiver last year. You were supposed to be our number one receiver 3 years ago, and you haven't done it. And I know you're from Louisville, and I love you as a Card brother, but no, it's time for you to go, pack your stuff, and go home. Yep. I don't want to hear about your hamstring anymore. I don't want to hear excuses of why you weren't our number one guy. It's enough. And I'm certainly not going to pay you $75 million to stay here anymore. Go back to Louisville. Go work for Papa John's.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would rather give a guy like Mac Hollins, I'd rather give him a higher contract and put him out there because, quite frankly, he's almost like Jasicki. He'll catch. You get it in his vicinity, he's going to do everything he can to catch that ball. I mean, he caught the miracle in Vegas last year.
Yeah, Jasicki, though, is hot and cold. He had a good year. I wish he would have had a better year, a more dominant year, especially going into his contract here. We talked about this in earlier shows.
Yeah.
Are we going to pay him the money that he's going to want? And maybe other teams will. But, our offensive problems are not just one. It's at every spot on the field right now. And they got to find a way.
Well, they've got to figure out. I mean, obviously, we've just discussed it. Obviously, we have a major problem at running back. Probably other than Waddle and I'll say Mac Hollins, we have a big problem at wide receiver. Will Fuller, get rid of him. I heard later on, and this is all excuses and who knows what it's scuttlebutt, that there is more mental issues with him than an actual physical injury. All right, maybe so.
I'm not buying it.
So we just paid $10 million for a head case. We already had a head case a couple of years ago as our head coach. So come on. We got to eat that $10 million. That's gone. Get rid of him. Devontae Parker, I'm like you, John. Look, you were supposed to be our number one guy since we drafted you. You're not even on the field because of your stupid hamstring problems all the time. Do you really have a hamstring problem, or have you just have you figured it out that all you have to do is go to the trainer and your position coach and say, a hamstring problem, and then you don't have to play, but you collect a paycheck? Come on. I mean, I don't want to call a guy out like that, but come on, that's what it looks like, especially after this game you come out and talk about how you want more money. You didn't play hardly this year. So we got a big problem there.
Whoever, if it's us or somebody else wants Devontae Parker, I would not give him guaranteed money. I'd put everything in incentives and say, okay, I'll let you make the $100 million, but you got to get there.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to pay you to be here. I need you to get your ass up out of the training room, take care of yourself at night, eat right, eat healthy, go to physical therapy or do whatever you have to do. But you can make $75 million with me, but only if you're on the field. And if you're not on the field, you're going to make $25 million.
Right. And that's too much. If you're not on the field and you take my $25 million, you're going to be out the building.
I'm talking about the length of the contract, not 1 year.
Okay. Yeah, I know. There's no way I'm going to give him even a possibility of making $75 million in a year. So I get that.
I'm certainly not giving you a 30 guarantee.
Hell no. And I just don't even. I mean, the way that I'm seeing his positioning right now is, hey, I want to get paid. Get paid for what? Get the hell out of my building. Go play for Detroit. Maybe they'll pay you the money. You can go play up there, do the same thing, and win 2 games. I'm here to win.
Live in that crappy weather, pay taxes.
Yeah.
Live in that bad weather, and you certainly not finding a wife or a girlfriend up there. So go ahead, go to Green Bay. See if you can one of those fat girls and go out with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you know what? You talk about if you went to Green Bay, okay, you're on a good team, but Green Bay's not going to put up with that crap. They want guys that want to come in there and win championships. And obviously, what we've seen of you so far in Miami, and believe me, the rest of the league has seen you don't want to win a championship. You just want to collect a paycheck. And you want to collect it, it seems like, the easy way by, I got a hamstring problem. I can't go, Coach.
Well, I mean, O.J. McDuffie had a toe problem, so we cut him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't deal with guys with injuries. I mean, I got my second injury, and the team made a decision to move on from me. Right. And I respect that because I couldn't stay healthy my last 2 years. And the shoulder injury was a lot more significant than people thought it was. So I went to Oakland. And I still say it was the smartest decision the Dolphins made was to cut me in 2001. So to move on from it, even though they never replaced me. But at the same time, I understood as a business decision why they moved on. Right now, guys are too entitled, and they think everyone's going to look the other way all the time. If your butt's not making plays on that field, you're going to be dismissed, and it's nobody's fault but yours or fate.
Well, and that's the way that it should be. And any head coach, any general manager, any president of football operations, any owner. You should be looking at it the same that a CEO looks at his organization like I do. I look at my organization and I look at my salespeople and the people that work for me. I'm like, if I don't see sales coming in from you, I'm not seeing the effort on your part to get better at your sales and figure out why your sales are sluggish. And you want to come into my office and tell me that you want to raise in your base pay and you want more commission. Well, you've had all this opportunity just because I gave you more base pay. Does that mean you're going to go out and get more sales from me? But, so it's the same thing, and other companies will see that. And in this case, all the other teams in the league. I was listening this morning to Bob Papa and Charlie Weiss, and they were talking about Baker Mayfield having his surgery now, and obviously he's probably needed the surgery for probably the last 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, but he chose to play. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to go ahead and have the surgery. And Charlie was kind of adamant. He's like, you can't come out now and say that the reason you were having bad games was because, well, I was hurt. Because everybody at this time of the season in the National Football League is nursing some kind of an injury. Aaron Rodgers, you mentioned a toe. Aaron Rodgers has a toe problem right now. He's played through it. He's played through it at a MVP caliber of play. So
there's yes and no there, because Rick Spielman, after I did my shoulder, now the first MRI said I just needed a scope. It was only a frontal labor, and Rick goes, "Hey John, would you wear a harness and play?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, I'll wear a harness and play." There was no way I was going to play with that harness. I go into surgery for a 45-minute scope, and I wind up with an 8.5-hour reconstruction because I was misdiagnosed.
Oh.
So I'm not, as much as I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan, he tried to play through it. He gritted it out. I'll give him a pass all day long on that because he tried. But Devontae Parker, you put Antonio Brown there. Antonio Brown said he had an ankle injury, but he looked fine running and jumping off the field when he quit last week.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not buying that.
I'm not buying it either.
At least Baker tried to tough it out till it got to a point where it's too destroyed.
Yeah.
And then he moved on from that. Then he said, okay, I have to have the surgery. That will give me more rehab time to come back next year. I'm already under contract anyways. But, there was no sense in me playing poorly going forward. I've been playing poorly because I have been injured. So I'll give Baker Mayfield a pass on that. Because something similar to me happened where they wanted me to play hurt. And I said, yeah, I would. But the surgery was 8.5 hours.
Wow.
Alone. A knee's an hour and 15 minutes now. So that's one thing I disagree there. But, how about we go to defense? Because I think there's a lot of bright spots on this team on defense.
I believe there's a lot of great spots on the defense as well. But I think there's also some things that we need to talk about that need to be fixed on defense as well. Anything else before we move on to the defensive side of the ball? Anything else you want to point out in the game line stats? Other than we got whipped up and down.
Making plays.
No.
I'm sorry, you're talking to Chris. Chris, go ahead.
No, either one of you. Anybody wants to interject something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that we don't have any Pro Bowlers on our offense. I agree with that, but the offensive line needs to be fixed. During the off season, and we definitely need some key wide receivers out there.
Yeah,
I think we should have went out and got someone like an Najee Harris this year with our draft picks. Take one. You find a very good running back picking after 18 in the first round. I think that has to be one of them. And then scour the globe to get us a couple wide receivers to complement Waddle.
Have to.
Waddle carried this team as much as he could. And then that offensive line, they got to do something. Eichenberg's not a left tackle, and he's getting torched for everything. But at the same time, he belongs at left guard.
Exactly.
I don't even think Eichenberg's a right tackle. I don't think he can play that spot.
No.
Jesse Davis, hey, he gets blamed for more than he should, but at the same time, he's got to be replaced. Lamar Hunt, who we thought put a fork in his dun early in the year, he actually had a decent year.
You mean Robert Hunt? You keep trying to put him as the former owner of the Chiefs. Robert Hunt.
Robert Hunt.
He didn't send me a Christmas card this year, so I don't feel bad.
Okay.
And I'm a KC fan. So I grew up as a Kansas City fan.
I did too, actually. Well, I told you when we first my first NFL game my dad ever took me to was at opening day Arrowhead Stadium, 1972. But I was a Dolphin fan by that time, even though we still lived in KC. But I also liked the Kansas City Chiefs, and I had met Mr. Hunt. I'd met Lamar Hunt and his family when my dad and I were at Worlds of Fun. We were standing in line for one of the roller coasters at Worlds of Fun with the Hunts.
Very cool.
Yeah, my dad loved it, and well, I did too, because we how roller coasters are. You stand in line forever. It was about a 30-minute wait, so we stood there talking to Lamar Hunt and his family for about 30 minutes. My dad loved it. But let's go. I want to go to. We're going to talk about the defense, and I think there's a lot of bright spots on our defense. Obviously, I don't know what the problems were early on in the season that caused us the problems defensively, because we were ranked at the bottom or near the bottom in just about every defensive category during that 7-game slide during the first 8 weeks of the season. And then we turned it around, and during the 7-game win streak, we were a top 5 defense. We were championship caliber, which we knew this defense had that capability. So it's inexcusable, and it's not. There's no way to explain it, what happened. But let's talk about the bright spots on that defense. You've got Sealer. You got Christian Wilkins, a guy that I think could be Defensive Rookie of the Year, Javon Holland.
Yeah, he's been talked about a lot.
Jerome Baker, Defensive Player of the Month. Brandon Jones looked good. Agba, incredible. Van Ginkel showed me some stuff that I never thought I'd see from him. Jalen Phillips came on great. John, your favorite, Raekwon Davis. And then, of course, always Xavier Howard. And then we even saw some good stuff from Duke Riley. Am I missing?
Right now, I think we're only 4 sacks from the Dolphins team record for sacks in the season.
Yeah, and we got most of those during the 7-game win streak. It's incredible.
Yeah, they really stepped in. I mean, Jalen Phillips. I mean, we were iffy about him earlier in the year, and I think Jalen Phillips really came on. After week 8, I think Jalen Phillips came on.
Yeah.
Javon Holland, he could be defensive player of the year, rookie defensive player of the year. I thought he played outstanding. Christian Wilkins led the team in tackles. That's a problem when your defensive tackle is leading your team in tackles for a game. He had 11, I think. I think he had 7 solo or 6 solo and 5 assists.
6 solo, 5 assists.
Christian Wilkins, we questioned him a little bit. He came on as the year went on. And then you got Raquan Davis. Everybody knows I love him. I like Barker. I like Baker. I think Xavier Howard started slow because of the contract and the holdout, or the hold in, whatever you want to call it.
Yep, the hold in.
Byron Jones stepped up late in the year, but Javon Holland to me was an absolute. So you want to talk about Pro Bowlers on defense? All right, we talk about offense. We don't have anybody right now. Waddle could be. I think he could be rookie of the year on offense. I think he played fantastic this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least be a top 5 candidate. Let's just leave it there. I don't watch every game and watch every rookie. But you look on defense, we have some young stars. We got Javon Holland, could be a Pro Bowl. Wilkins could be a Pro Bowl. Ron Davis, Seiler played well. Baker Player of the Month, maybe Baker, right?
Jerome Baker was player of the month. Player of the month.
Player of the month. He's got a chance for a future. Byron
Absolutely.
Jones has a history of being successful. Xavier Howard is a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Isn't he? Did he make the Pro Bowl this year?
Well, he's the only Dolphin that made the Pro Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you got 5, 6, 7 guys on defense you can talk about. We don't have anybody but Waddle right now. And maybe get sticky to talk about on offense. That is disproportionate when you're spending that salary cap money. We got to find a way to get that offense better. With the constraints that we have plenty of money. We got to go out and shake it up and move it. The decision is going to be about Tua. I mean, what he had 3 fumbles, pick. I mean, that you can't just throw the ball and lose it in your hand when you're on your own 10-yard line or 15-yard line, wherever it happens. That's unexcusable. And he can't win big games.
No.
I mean, we can't win one big game. And that's when the quarterback says, don't tell Dan Marino he can't win a big game. Even Pennington. I would take Chad Pennington. Don't tell Chad he can't win a big game. When the game is on the line, those guys like that win.
Those are guys that can pick a team up and
Even
put them on their
Fiedler.
shoulder.
How about Jay Fiedler beating the Raiders?
Yeah.
That year to get us to the AFC Championship, AFC East Championship.
Jay Fiedler had a lot of big games.
Can win.
Yeah.
Tua, it was his time to show this weekend, and I think he let us down.
Yeah. I think he actually had 4 fumbles, but he only lost one of them. But he got bailed out twice by Eichenberg. Eichenberg fell on 2 of them.
3 fumbles, 1 lost.
Was it 3? Okay. Then it must have been a misprint, because I thought I saw 4 and 1. But so 3 and 1. Still, you dropped the ball 3 times. Come on. You can't do that. I know it was rainy and wet, but still, Chris, how wet was it? You guys were there.
Oh, it was very, very wet. I mean, it was, from start to finish, it just kept on raining and raining. So it was, very, very soggy out there.
Well, I know your mom said that your clothes finally dried out by Monday morning.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. Because
but we were talking about Parker earlier.
Right.
Let me bring this up. He was targeted 13 times.
Right.
He only had 4 receptions.
Yeah, he dropped a couple of them that were just right in the breadbasket.
All right, can you imagine if that's Randy Moss or any of the top receivers today? If you get targeted 13 times, you only caught 4 passes.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs, whoever else.
Yeah.
That in my opinion, right there, that they actually were trying to get Devontae Parker the ball. And other than that skinny post route he runs, I haven't seen him catch anything else. And that goes for the offense. The offense is so basic. They're just doing skinny slant or skinny post and slant routes. I don't see any deep crossing routes. I don't see any fade takeoff routes. Didn't see any of that. I haven't seen enough play action to keep anybody off balance. To me, the offense coordinator goes tomorrow. I would fire him tomorrow because He has not produced at all. And now either we have to make a decision. Either it's the personnel that we put on the field, which is Greer, or it's the head coach using the offense coordinator of why we haven't been more successful this year on offense. What was our highest point total this year? How many times were we over 30 points in a game on offense?
Not often. And I think, wasn't our highest point total, Chris, wasn't it 35?
Yeah, 35, yeah.
And how many
35.
times was that? Because Kansas City scores over 30 every week.
Right.
And so does almost every team that's in the playoffs right now.
Just about. Look at the Packers.
You can't score 24 points a game and beat anybody. You can't ask your defense to hold, one of the best teams in the AFC to 17 points going in the fourth quarter and expect to win any games.
Well, and actually, what is their average points per game? Isn't it like 19 point something?
Well, you're not going to beat anybody.
No.
And if we on third down in time of possession, we lose all those.
Well, and like you said, 25% this week on third
lose.
down, and 20, just over 26 minutes in total time of possession.
That's 26-48.
Yeah, so 27 minutes. So you're still losing.
You were 1 out of 3 on fourth down. You can't have the 1 and 3 on fourth down. Punt, kick a field goal. I'll take 50-50. I'll take 75 on fourth down if I'm a coach and I go for it.
Right.
You can't be 33%.
No, you're not. Well, we've talked about that. You're not going to win in this league. You're 25% on third down efficiency, and then you go for it 3 times on fourth down, and you only get it once. Something's got to give. And I'm on the same side of the field with you now at this point, John. Pilardi's got to go as the punter. His net was 29.8 Sunday. His average was 36.8. I know that I told you he's a pin down specialist. He's good at pinning you down inside the 10 or the 5. But I think he suffers at his overall numbers because that's what he's specializing in. So when he's backed up at his own 20 and he needs to boom one, he just can't do it.
All right, so Dolphins, I'm going to give you some advice right now. You want a punter. You get one of your scouts, fly him to Australia and find an Aussie rules kicker, an Aussie rules football player. You put him on the practice squad, teach him how to kick. Those guys are phenomenal. They control the ball better than anybody. I played with Darren Bennett. So Darren played 7 years in Aussie rules football, and he wins a punting contest. And the prize was a trip to San Diego. He gets married, brings his wife to San Diego. He calls up Bobby Bethard and says, look, I can punt the ball 100 yards. Bobby Bethard says, no, you can't. And he's yes, I can. Bobby gives him a workout. On 5 steps, the guy can punt the ball 100 yards. So he signs him, puts him in the World League, and then he had this other kick he could do where he could pin everybody. He goes to the Pro Bowl his rookie year. He averages 75 yards a punt in the Pro Bowl. And he could put the ball out of bounds on the 1 yard line from anywhere on the field. He was one of the most amazing punters I've ever seen.
That is amazing. We could get a guy like that. We could win a lot of games. That's like having Gus, the mule, kicking field goals for you. Remember that Disney movie?
We're talking about 6-second hang time.
Wow.
Yeah, those Aussie rules. I think Florida State just got a player from Australia. So, I mean, it's not that hard to punt the ball. I've got to play with a whole bunch of good ones. Every punter I've ever been with has been great. That's unacceptable, especially when your offense is terrible. You can't have a terrible punter on top of it.
No.
So, yes, he's gone too. He's part of the offense, in my opinion.
I agree. Because he's the end of the play. He's coming in on fourth down. That's the offense is still on the field, in my opinion. So, there's the good points. There's good stuff to talk about on the defense. But it's like I said yesterday. Chris and I were talking, and I said, you can't. Even a championship caliber defense cannot bail out a horrible offense every single week. Something eventually is going to give. Something eventually is going to break. and it rears its ugly head. It reared its ugly head with a 1-7 start because the offense was so pathetic. And then we think during a 7-game win streak, we think, okay, we found the answers. We're seeing what's going on here. But if you really drilled down, and John and I did, if you really drilled down through the stats, you could see even during the 7-game win streak, most of that you would attribute to the defense.
Yeah, of course. That's the way I feel about it. We have a good nucleus on defense we can build around. I think the defense is fine.
I just wish we had that nucleus on the offensive side of the ball.
I would say we need to focus on offense in the offseason this year, and we got to do whatever we have to do. Tua, I said this weeks ago. I go, he's just good enough to get us beat.
Yeah.
When he's playing well, he's effective, but he's still not a winner, in my opinion. He's a game manager. We don't have enough playmakers for him to be a game manager. So we either say, okay, we need a quarterback that can put the team on his back and take him to the playoffs, take him to a Super Bowl. Or we make him a game manager and we get him help and we get him a running back and we get him real wide receivers that catch. I'm tired of Gesicki was targeted 7 times for 4 receptions. Devontae Parker, 13 for 4. Yeah. Waddle, 7 for 3. I'll give Waddle a pass on this game because he's been the guy.
And Waddle still got 15.7 yards average.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll give Waddle a pass.
Waddle had 15.7.
Yeah.
Which is great because he's averaging, when he was catching the ball, he's only averaging 6 because they were throwing everything underneath for Tua.
Right.
So if Tua's not the guy, they have to make a decision. Either you're going to keep Tua and make him a game manager, which you can do. You can win.
Do that,
Trent
sure.
Dilfer. There are a bunch of quarterbacks out there who are just game managers.
Right.
That's fine if you get the pieces around him. Right now, we don't have the pieces around him. So either we get the pieces or we get ourselves another quarterback. I think it's the only position in offense we have right now.
But I think here's the problem. If you're going to make him a game manager, now you got a whole bunch of pieces. It's not just a receiver or two. It's not just a running back. You got to get him a left tackle. You got to move Eichenberg back into his natural position there at left guard.
How many left tackles are we going to draft?
Well, I don't think we draft one. I got to go get one in free agency, I think.
Well, we drafted one left tackle in 1987. Richmond Webb, been the best we had. Then we had to spend a number 1 pick on Jake Long. It was good. I don't think Jake Long was great. He had a nice 10-year career here, but no one was scared of Jake Long.
No, he was not a beast.
But then we spent 2 picks and got 2 very good tackles that played a long time. Played 2 decades, almost 2.5 decades for us. We drafted 3 right now, and we can't find 1.
Well, we traded away 1. We traded away 1. I know we got a boatload of picks, but still.
You're right.
Laramie Tunsil fell to us at 13, and we traded him for a whole bunch of draft picks. And then we failed on those draft picks
right now. You always talk about the Jimmy Johnson trade to Dallas, and all those picks worked out. So who were the picks that we got for Laramie Tunsil?
I'd have to go back and actually take a look at those picks.
At the end of the year, we should probably do that.
We should.
And then talk about the Dolphins and their moves and the players that we got and the draft picks who we got and what this general manager and this team, this organization has done with them. And the difference between Dallas Cowboys of the 90s and then what we've done here trading picks like Belichick.
Yeah.
So we've traded picks, but I think we've gotten rid of more talent to be this mediocre.
Yeah. Well, and I know that we could probably throw Waddle in there. He probably is a pick that was benefited from the Laramie Tunsil trade. But I'd have to go back and take a complete look at everything.
Are you sure we got Waddle?
Well, I'd have to look and see how all the different, because Greer has made so many trades. That's why I said I'd have to go back and research it to make sure.
I think that'd be interesting.
I think we should research it. Chris, you can help us research that as well.
So how we assembled this team and got the players we did, and then you can actually assess or not assess blame on Greer if they were the right decisions.
Right. Yeah, I think we definitely need to
without
do
the
it before we
information in your
start.
hand,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Let's-
definitely
without
need
the
to research
information-
on that.
in front of you, it's hard to make decisions about who's at fault, because somebody's got to take the blame of this. Right now, it's a damn train wreck. I wish we had somebody running this team like a Dan Marino, where we could look to Dan for the reasons of why we did everything. Right now, you have a guy that owns a team in Stephen Ross, with Garfinkel on the top, with a conglomerate of different companies everybody's trying to run. There needs to be a head of football operations only, who the GM responds to, and the head coach responds to, who is a football guy. We've all talked about this, like an Elway did in Denver.
Yep, goes back to a conversation we had during the 1-7 start. You and I talked about Dan should be the guy that is like Elway in Denver. He's your football guy. Everybody on the football side of the operations reports to Dan, and then Dan reports to Mr. Ross. That's it.
I'm on board with that.
I don't want-
100%. I think we should have.
Well, I mean, how many businesses does Garfinkel have to answer for?
Exactly.
Is he involved with the racetrack and the ticket sales? I don't want anybody worrying about any of that. I want one guy who answers for the GM and the head coach and the people in the building on personnel and the way operations are running the team. I don't care about all the other businesses. That's great you're building a tennis court. That's great you're building a Formula One track.
Right.
But it's getting to be enough. I mean, there's not even fan parking down there anymore.
No.
I mean, we have our tailgate has everybody there. We have Dwight Stevenson. We have, Jeff Cross. Even Marino stops by. Our the same guys that own Melting Pot and all that. We have the best tailgate in the world, and they threw us out with the bus. They don't even allow us to park the bus in the parking lot anymore. The RV that we used to get, and Crash Jensen, all of us hang out there. But because they're expanding all the operations around the stadium, there's no fan parking. The fan experience is going down, and you have a losing product on the field. It's going to be hard to fill that stadium in 2 more years unless they start winning.
I agree with you. I told Chris, we are going to come down. I was talking with my son this morning. His mom has agreed that it's okay because he's a good student. So it's okay as long as I can change our flights that we'll fly back on Monday. And he's going to miss Monday of school.
It's already coming down.
Because we weren't going to be, we actually were not going to come down because of that. And it was just going to be a wasted period. It was going to be a wasted weekend of rush, because it was supposed to be a 1:00 game. Now it's a 4:25 game. And because we're part of the pregame flag holding ceremony, we have to show up at the stadium at 2:30 in the afternoon for mandatory training on how to conduct ourselves and hold that flag and do all that stuff. So, it's a long weekend. If we had to catch our flight coming back on Sunday night, we'd have to be at the airport in Fort Lauderdale by 6:30. So we would have had to leave the latest we probably could have left would have been halftime. So I just told him, I said, it's not worth it to go down there, be tired as we're going to be from all the traveling, and then rushing around on Saturday to try to do things. And then obviously now we're going to be rushing around all day on Sunday. We got to be down there at 2:30 for this training. We're only going to, maybe you're going to meet Marino, maybe not. I don't know. And then we're going to be out there on the field holding the flag, and you're going to get to watch you're going to watch a half of football maybe before we got to bolt out of there and go catch a plane. So he said, well, we could go. I'll miss Monday at school. Mom said it was okay. I said, all right, fine. If I can change the flights, then we're going to come down and we're going to fly back on Monday. So we're planning to come down there. I just gotta check with the airline and see if we can change the flight coming back on Monday instead of Sunday night. But when I got up Monday morning and found out that the NFL had changed the game time from 1:00 to 4:25, I was like, oh, great. So, but that goes to what John was saying. That upset me, not really at the NFL. I mean, I'm a little upset at the NFL because I don't think they take into consideration when they make these changes about somebody like me that would be flying in from Vegas.
Right.
I'm flying in with my kid who needs to be at school on Monday. You made this almost impossible for me to do this without yanking the kid out of school on Monday. Thank God he's a good student, right? But do I really want to come down there when this game is absolutely meaningless, John? You know what I mean? It's like, what are we coming down there for? The product of Mr. Ross and his front office is putting on the field. It's not worth it.
Only people flying in for this game are from Boston. And there's nobody flying in from Vegas but you all.
I know.
No,
I was just going to say that this is the
game.
two stupid people from Vegas that are flying. And I can't call my son stupid, so it's just me. I'm stupid, and I'm dragging him along with me. So, yeah. I mean, so come on. Put a better. I agree with you. Put a better product on the field, Mr. Ross, or that stadium and that parking lot's going to be empty. What parking lot you have left?
Focusing on the team, not all this, celebrities, tennis tours.
Well, I thought we were past all that. I thought we were past the stupid orange carpet and the tennis sisters and all the celebrities. I thought we were past that, and I thought he was going to focus on football.
At the stadium. I mean, there's still celebrities in the skybox. They're always showing them on the jumbotron. So there still are celebrities that attend these games.
So the Sabrina sisters, the Williams sisters.
Jennifer Lopez still a celebrity. I think she's getting a little old and a little long in the tooth.
Long in the tooth, yeah.
But no, I mean, you want to put people in the stands. Your team has to be competitive at the end of the game.
Right.
So here we're 17-3. Okay, it's 17-3 right now. Our last 4 possessions and their last 4 possessions. We turn the ball over on downs. We miss a 4th down. Turn the ball over on downs. Another 4th down missed. An interception, end the game.
Yeah.
Tennessee goes punt, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. That's how you win a damn game. That's how you put people in the stands. Being competitive for 3 quarters in the NFL gets you nowhere.
No. And that's,
John,
go ahead, Chris.
No, I wanted to go back to what John said not long ago about, the Dolphins should be more practicing more outdoors than indoors, because I think indoor practicing hurts them more, than outdoors, because they spend more time indoors and, out in the weather climates. They should be practicing with, wet footballs, just get them more feel for it. Yeah.
I agreed with that. Well, the minute John said that, I'm like, I fire Flores and hire John, because the first thing he said as a head coach is going to tear down that bubble. Good.
Tear it down.
Yeah.
Hey, what did Bear Bryant say? Water makes you weak.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to practice and play. You have to practice in the elements to be able to play in the elements. And we play in a very weird place. It is always 85 or 90 here. I mean, we're not somewhere like, okay, it's 30, even when I was in college, or even when I played for Buffalo, we went outside. The Jets, it was miserable trying to practice. Johnny Mitchell, we played for the Jets, late December in Hofstra. He'd be wearing a half shirt, running around the field making plays. And he was one of the most gifted athletes I've ever seen. But if you don't plan this stuff, if you don't practice in this stuff, you're not going to be able to play in it.
No, and that was, and Shula said the same thing. Shula wouldn't have had a practice bubble. Screw that.
Yeah, Shula would have been outdoors 24/7.
Shula cares about celebrities. He's Catholic. The Pope was in town. The Pope wanted to meet Shula, and Shula told him to come by St. Thomas University because he had practice.
Yeah.
So Shula wouldn't even move for the Pope. How many times has the Pope been in the U.S.? 3 times ever?
There's another. I'll have to look it up because
that's a different level of focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another really good story. I got to look it up. Chris, didn't David Shula talk about something about? Remember Karen Carpenter and the Carpenters at the Shula Memorial? And his dad, I guess he liked listening to the Carpenters or something, but at one time he didn't even know who they were. Yeah, I mean, so it's just what are you looking at? What is important to you? And for Stephen Ross, all these celebrities, all these
Hey, Shula turned down the Pope.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Joe Robbie didn't say anything about it.
No. Well, not after, and I'll have to tell you the story. You probably heard it, but it was great because the Archbishop from Miami, he told the story about the then Archbishop way back when it looked like Shula was going to leave Miami. Him and Joe Robbie weren't talking. I'll tell you that some other time off the air. Might tell it on the air another time. We're going long today, and this was a great show, and we needed to cover this. I did want to real quick, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about the final thing as life as a Dolphins fan. We've been kind of talking about that a little bit, but we've also been really focusing on this season. So I want to come back to the life as a Dolphins fan, but I would be remiss. 2 years ago, we lost, coming up on 2 years ago, we lost Coach Shula. Just this past, right after Christmas.
It was his birthday yesterday.
Absolutely.
So happy birthday in heaven, Coach.
Yeah, happy birthday, Coach.
Yeah,
We'll miss you.
Coach Shula.
And I would be remiss if we didn't mention the great Coach Madden. John Madden passed away at the age of 85, wasn't it? 85. And John Madden was a big part of my life for many, many years. He was in my living room on every Sunday and every Thanksgiving up until he retired. At the end of the 2009 season, right, was when he retired. So John Madden, another great one lost. We also lost Dan Reeves. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention John Madden because he was a one-of-a-kind, still holds the record of the best winning percentage of any coach who's coached over 100 games. Also, just broadcaster extraordinaire. He gave us the phrases like "boom," and it just.
Wow.
Yeah, and he made football fun. And if you haven't watched the special that aired on Christmas, that Madden watched with his family the day before his wedding anniversary, and then of course he passed away right after that. It's called All Madden. I believe it's still being shown. It was last night. It was on NFL Network. It's also on ESPN. So if you can get a chance, catch that show. It's great. And it just brought back a whole lot of memories. If it hadn't, I mean, John Madden, he changed Thanksgiving for almost an entire country. Everybody now knows what a turducken is. I'll never forget the Thanksgiving Day games when he was giving out the turkey legs. And there was one game, I think it was the Dallas Cowboys were involved in this game. He had so many players that he thought had made great plays that game. He gave out 6 turkey legs. So they brought out a turkey and they added 4 legs to it. So John Madden he made football fun for the average fan, and he taught the average fan how to watch the game.
Well, I love Coach Madden. I had the pleasure of meeting him on several occasions. So I did an interview with him one time here in Miami at a Monday night game, and I was trying to find the hat today. I got a Fox hat. I got a Fox hat that has him and Pat Summerall's signature on it. So
Nice.
my daughter was getting baptized on that Saturday. So, and I had family in town. So I went down and I went to Coach Madden. I go, hey, he had his bus parked out front. I go, would you mind if my family came and took a tour of your bus? He's like, no, John, not at all. He knew my uncle. And he goes, so he brought him on board, and John Madden, his driver, were just kind to my whole family. We got pictures and everything with them. So I really enjoyed Coach Madden. I really loved him, and but he may have changed football more than anybody. The reason guys are making $20 million a year is because of his game, Madden Sports, and the way he broadcasted.
Yep.
He brought so much more attention in the league, and the EAS did a great job with the game, but he transcended sports and made fans out of people who wouldn't be fans.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And CBS originally, they scored when they were able to put that combination of Pat Summerall and John Madden, they covered games for 24 years together. So
long time.
And an incredible run. And Coach Madden changed the game for an awful lot of people. And I got to add this to it, and when you watch All Madden, you'll find this out. But I'm going to tell this little story because it's not going to give away a whole lot. And the show is the special is incredible to watch. When the creator of EA Sports was wanting to put this football game together, he came to John Madden and he said, "Look, Coach," he said, we don't have the technology right now. We can't fit any more than 7 players on each side, defense and offense, on the screen. So why don't we take out a couple of the linemen on each side and we'll just do a 7-on-7 game?" And Madden looked at him and said, "That's not real football. So come back to me when you can make it real football." So
that's an amazing story.
Yeah. So it took them like another 4 years before they actually were able to develop it and have 11-on-11. And then Madden said, "Okay, now we're ready to go."
It's Christmas one year. So every year my son wanted a Madden game. So he wasn't born until 2004. And then, he kept getting one. So we used to go to GameStop and we pick him up an old school Madden game as well. Wow. So my son, we go to GameStop and buy it, and they keep records of what you buy. And the guy looks at my wife and I at the time and goes, "Your kid must really like Madden. He owns every damn one of them." So we went back, and even GameStop, we had every Madden game for the PlayStation, and even GameStop it. So it's pretty funny.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool, though, as a player to still be on those games that you can play. So you can still pull me up. You just stay on the old version.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I was the type of guy, I don't know what it was. I was never really into video games. I played it a few times. I always wanted to play it though. It has a GM mode to it, doesn't it?
It does now, but I haven't played it since 2000.
I've not really played it a whole lot, but we lost Coach Madden. He's definitely going to be missed, and just wanted to make sure that we put him in there. And anybody that's ever Frank Caliendo became pretty famous for doing his Madden impression, and I understand he's done a Gruden impression. And he's got one of Belichick now too. I don't really care about the Belichick one, but if you ever get a chance, also go out, YouTube it. Frank Caliendo, John Madden. He is hysterical. And Caliendo, he hits on the fascination, and nobody will doubt this. Even John Madden himself. There's no doubt there was a fascination between him and Brett Favre, and Caliendo. He hits on that like Brett Favre. It's the funniest thing you've ever watched in your life. You've got to go and YouTube some of those old Frank Caliendo impressions of John Madden. It's just hysterical. Guys, anything else you guys want to add about John Madden before I move on and we close out his life as a Dolphins fan for at least the last 19 counting? 19 seasons and counting.
On my TV.
What's that? I'm sorry, Chris. What was that?
I enjoyed my game on my TV set every Sunday.
Yeah, me too. And every Thanksgiving.
I remember. Hey, you're not old enough, Chris. I remember on Monday.
Mondays too.
Monday,
I remember Monday night.
Al Michael.
Yeah, that was an incredible run for Coach Madden. So, all right, moving on and to close out, another disappointing season, and this is 19. And counting, because we don't know what's going to happen next year. So, hey, I hope next year's not going to be a disappointment. But this was funny because there was a guy on Twitter this morning, and he put this out there, and I kind of grabbed it, and I kind of added some stuff to it just to kind of get everybody a little bit of an idea. So you guys chime in, we'll discuss this. But here's life as a Dolphins fan, and it's in 7 steps. And this is as the season starts. So first off, we all, as Dolphin fans, we get a little cocky when we see a trade happen, or we pick up a free agent, or once the draft comes around, we're all cocky about our draft picks, right? Like free agent pickup, Brandon Albert. Free agent pickup, Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace, we're going to win a Super Bowl. We drafted Laramie Tunsil. Rah. Well, everybody was all in on Austin Jackson, and then Devontae Parker. Oh, when we drafted Devontae Parker, okay, everything's going to be great, right? That's followed up
Brandon
with
Marshall.
or the Brandon Marshall trade. Exactly. I thought about Brandon Marshall in that as well. And there's a whole bunch of other people in there too. Okay. You start, and we get that excitement. And we are cocky about it. But every fan of every team is cocky when you're talking about who you've picked up in free agency or who you've traded for or who you've drafted. But as a Dolphin fan, that cockiness turns into a very confused look on your face when the season starts and you see the product on the field. Because it's like, this isn't what we thought we were going to see, especially this year. This year was totally horrible. And that's when the season starts. It's just, you got that dazed deer in the headlight looks like, what the heck just happened? Like we just got run over by a train. That is then followed by it seems like almost every year we have this mid-season push and we're back in the hunt and we've got some hope.
Yeah, then we get our hearts broken at the end.
Well, not exactly, because in between that, step number 4, okay, the last of the undefeateds go down, right? So as Dolphin fans, the only thing that we still have that is any pride for us whatsoever is the 1972 undefeated team. So as the last undefeated goes down, we pop the champagne corks and we toast to the 1972 Dolphins. So we got that going for us, okay? Then that's followed by missing the playoffs in an embarrassing fashion. And I'll bring this up. Last year, we controlled our own destiny last year. Went out, okay, we're in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. We go into the final game against Buffalo, and we lose in embarrassing fashion. It was 56, Buffalo 56, Miami 26, in a game that wasn't even as close as that score indicates. Because we actually, what did we score, Chris? I forget. Did we scored 2 garbage touchdowns, didn't we?
Yeah, 2 final garbage touchdowns at the end of the game.
Yeah. So, like I said, that was a game that wasn't even as close as that score would indicate that it was. Then this year, think back to, we got that confused look, what's going on when the season starts, followed by that mid-season push. We're in the hunt all of a sudden. We control our destiny, and then we got the 34-3. And I say that's embarrassing only because, like you said, John, we actually, 17-3, our defense was playing well enough into the fourth quarter, but our offense just couldn't muster anything. You're going to fumble the ball. You're going to throw interceptions. You can't do that. So another year that we lose embarrassingly, now we're out of the playoffs. And then here's step number 6. Now we go into, as a Dolphin fan, we go into talking about and doing our mock drafts, pissing and moaning about now Zach Thomas getting passed over into the Hall of Fame. Of course, he's made the final list this year, but Bob Kuechenberg, he got passed up. So now we'll go into, and if Zach Thomas doesn't make the Hall, we'll bitch and complain about that. So we'll have Zach Thomas and Bob Kuechenberg that we can bitch and complain about that the Hall of Fame is ignoring them. And we start to talk about questions about the head coach, the GM. Are we going to replace the quarterback, Tua? That stuff happens. And then step 7 is just rinse and repeat because we're getting ready for next season, the same thing.
Right.
Thoughts?
Sounds pretty right. Sounds pretty right.
Yep.
So let's get the word out there and have people start voting for Zach. So at least we can just keep his name out there.
Absolutely.
Zach's such a private guy that he won't push for it. And I told Zach that 2 years ago. I said, you should hire a publicist for $90,000 just to get you in the Hall of Fame, because there's no reason Urlacher belongs in and you're not.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking about that today with one of my employees, and we were talking about Zach, and he said, yeah, Zach definitely belongs in there. If Urlacher got in, Zach's got better numbers than Urlacher ever, better numbers overall. And Urlacher's in with Zach's not.
Urlacher got in before Zach Thomas did.
Well, I can't, and I think Urlacher, wasn't he first ballot?
I believe so. I mean, if I'm not mistaken.
First ballot. And I never cared for Urlacher, and I know what Zach is as a man and a person. Yeah. He's a much better person than Urlacher on top of it.
Yeah, when I lived up in the Chicago area for quite a long time when I was in the Navy, and then when I got out, and I never met Urlacher, but I went to a couple of places that he was one of the regulars at, and it wasn't too much that they had. I mean, they had a couple of autographed footballs, I think, and some jerseys up of him, but I didn't really find anybody that had a whole lot that they could really say about him positive.
Didn't he get seen by his baby mama and a stripper?
I believe so. I remember something about that. I
It
didn't
was
pay
really
much
bad for
attention to him.
Chicago. That's all I know.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to go back and I just want a final recap here. We talked about life as a Dolphins fan, and I saw that, and like I said, I added a couple of things just for the emphasis on that, but that was pretty spot on. I believe our problems really started. I'm not particularly going to blame Dave Wanstedt. I think Dave Wanstedt's handling of Ricky Williams, and Ricky deciding that he wanted to spend a little more time with the marijuana than he did with his football career, and the retirement of Ricky Williams. I think that started just, I think that pushed the rock over the ledge, over the mountain's edge, and started it run downhill, or a snowball, if you want to say.
Remember though, Dave Wanstead was an Emmett Smith guy.
Yeah.
He wanted Ricky to be Emmett Smith.
I know.
But
Yeah.
Ricky already, I know a lot about Ricky. When the New Orleans Saints drafted him, they talked to my agent and they were laughing because what was the rapper's name? Master P did his contract and he got screwed. Ricky Williams got screwed. So by the time Ricky Williams got here and he was an older vet, he just didn't want any part of it anymore and wanted it done. That happens in free agency. So I'm not going to blame Dave on that. I thought Dave was a good football coach. I really enjoyed Dave. Some guys don't think of that highly of him, but I did like Dave Wanstead very much.
I did too. I met Dave Wanstedt when he was actually the coach of the Chicago Bears, and I think it was in the last season he was with the Bears right before he got fired.
You know what the downside was Tony Weiss. When he brought in Tony Weiss,
yeah.
And he went to that. Miami was built as a zone team, an athletic team. So our offensive line was all athletic. Tony Weiss went to that lead step smash mouth football that didn't exist anymore that he had with the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is you can't get a Nate Newton or Larry Allen. You're not going to get those guys 340 across the board that can lead step. You could find more athletic linemen that can pass block and zone block. So the fall of Dave Wanstead is Tony Weiss. Mark my words, it was Tony Weiss.
Okay, well that makes sense. I remember that, and I remember, and I guess I bring it back to Wanstead because he was the head coach, and everything would stop there. The buck stops here.
But it was Tony.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with you. I just think that they overran Ricky and they ran him right into retirement. Of course, because he comes back out. Nick Saban reached out to him and got him to come back and play. But then that brings us to the whole Nick Saban saga. I don't think Nick Saban had any desire to leave LSU or college. We know for a fact his wife, because Chris, your mom knew Terry Saban. She hated him.
Absolutely. Yeah, she really did, and she definitely did not want to be here.
So you've got to figure that's got to be a lot of the reason why Coach Saban himself turned around and despite I hate the way that he went out. I mean, if you were talking to Alabama, or if it was even something that you would have considered, you shouldn't have come out and adamantly said, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach.
Yeah, he should have just said, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to discuss it right now. He should have handled it a lot better. And
I think, John, he tried. I think that's what he was trying to say. Basically, I'm not going to discuss that right now. I'm the Miami Dolphins head coach. Well, I'm not going to discuss that. We're in the middle of a season. I'm worried about New England, or I'm worried about Pittsburgh, or whatever we got coming up. I think that's what he was trying to do, but the words came out the wrong way. I'm not making excuses for Coach.
For a guy that's been around Parcells and Bill Belichick, he did not handle that press conference the correct way. But that wasn't what the problem was. Now, everybody didn't like his wife. Everybody knows that. Nobody liked him either. But if you'd win, we'd let you get away with that. But what happened is when he brought in Culpepper, the GM brought in Culpepper over Drew Brees.
Right.
He says, I can't win with Culpepper. That was a deal breaker. So that's what happened. And then the Bama job came up. And I'm sure he was interested, but the media hounded him. Yeah. Finally, he had to say something because this media drove nuts because the media didn't like him. Nick Saban's first day in the building, there's a young intern walking by. And he goes, hey, coach, great haircut. Whoa. Saban sent out a memorandum the next day. You are not allowed to speak to coach unless spoken to.
I heard the story. Maybe you can confirm this or not. I heard the story of the Dolphins. Actually, not even his secretary. I think it was just the receptionist in the building. Maybe it was his secretary.
Rudy. Yeah, Rudy or Ruby. Everybody loves Ruby.
Okay.
She was an elderly African American woman that worked the front desk.
Was she the one that he ordered her to make sure she got his little Debbie
told
cakes?
Her not to talk to anybody. I went in there one time, and she goes, "I've been told not to speak to anybody, John. I'm sorry." I'm like, "Well, that's crazy." So I'm coaching at FAU. I go down, and Ruby's not allowed to talk to me. So I go into the strength room. I talk to John Gamble. Saban comes up and stands behind him. So I said, okay. I go talk to the assistant strength coach. Saban comes up and stands behind me. I go in the training room. I talk to Kevin O'Neill, the head trainer.
Right.
Saban comes up and stands behind me. I go out and I talk to the director of pro personnel. Now, I'm a college coach. I've been invited there. So it wasn't like I'm overstepping my bounds. And the Dolphins always had open policy where you go to the building anytime you want, talk to whoever you want, whatever you needed. We had a friendly environment here. I go outside. I'm talking to Stu Weinstein, the head of security. Saban comes up and stands behind me. Then Zach Thomas comes out, gives me a hug. Jason Taylor comes out and gives me a hug. Saban stands behind me again. I finally looked at him. I go, what? Either I played here or I coached here, you asshole. What the fuck is your problem? I go, I'll leave right now, but if I ever see you in public, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. So don't ask me about Nick Saban ever. I can't stand the man. Miami is a friendly place where we love our ex-players here. We love our alumni here. We love the people in our community, and he's just a little dictator. How about the time that the tackle goes down in convulsions in the hallway because he was sick, got dehydrated, wound up going to epilepsy or some sort of seizure thing. Saban steps over him, keeps on walking to the meeting room, then yells at all the players saying, it's his fault that he's down there. They had a helicopter him out to Broward General. They had a helicopter the guy out of the building.
Wow.
Instead of telling his players, hey, I know you guys are, if you're not feeling well, you don't necessarily want to go to the trainer, but this is what can happen. Instead, he blamed it on the player. He blamed it on everybody else. He's a bad person. He's a good football coach. He's won a lot of games, but he's a bad person in my eyes. Yeah. He was not meant ever to be in the NFL.
Well, the one story I heard about is he climbed all over some secretary's butt because she didn't get his little Debbie cakes. Was that Ruby?
He climbed over the whole building because somebody said nice haircut.
Oh, Jesus.
The guy's insane.
Well, we go from insane to I don't know what with Cam Cameron. What was that all about?
A little wimp. So we go from one extreme, then we hire Cam Cameron, the other extreme. So we go from the bully to the wimp, and we wonder why that doesn't work.
Yeah.
We keep making the same mistakes every dang time. Now, I like Flores. I'm not sold on Greer right now, but it seems like we keep wavering back and forth. Tough guy, because then we go to
then we bring in Parcells, Sperano, and Ireland.
Yeah. So we go back to tough guy after the wimp.
Right. And then
the other tough guy didn't work.
And then we go from that after Sperano, then we go to Sleepy Joe Philbin.
And we go to the wimp. See what we do here, tough guy wimp.
And then we didn't go to bully, then we went to Mr. Crazy and Adam Gase.
Well, he's still a wimp. I mean, it's bully wimp.
He was a wimp that wanted to be a bully. How's that?
Yeah, he wasn't smart enough. I don't know, crazy eyes.
Yes.
He looks like Jim Carrey in The Mask.
Yeah. I mean, granted, we didn't see near enough the crazy eyes like you did in his opening press conference when he was announced as the head coach of the Jets. That was
whatever. We have no continuity. We go from hot to cold, cold to hot.
Yeah.
It's just the way we've been. Until this organization gets some continuity, I don't see us winning.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I think we've got to stick with Coach Flores at least one more season. I mean, if he falls flat on his face,
Flores, but I don't know if I'll stick with Greer.
I'm with you on that, Chris.
And I think I'd fire the offense.
Yeah, I would change GMs. I would absolutely change.
Well, why not the offense coordinator? We had 3 coordinators basically this year.
Yep.
We had 2 co-coordinators and a guy signaling in plays.
Yeah.
Why don't we fire all of them and get one guy that can coach offense?
That's what I'd like to
Our offense
see.
has been the problem. Our defense was good enough for us to get in the playoffs. Our offense was not. And there was 3 guys responsible for it. And Greer's not an offensive coach.
Yeah, why do we need 2 offense coordinators, not just stick with one?
Well, I agree with John though, because if you remember right, we had Godsey, you got Godsey, and you got Studsville, all right, or Studsville, however you pronounce it, and then you had Charlie Fry, the quarterbacks coach. So they're calling the play down from the press box, Charlie Fry to communicate in the headset to the quarterback. So now you got 3 guys. So you got 2 guys making up the offensive game plan, which always stunk. You got 1 guy on Sunday, it was usually Godsey up in the booth calling the plays down, but he's not calling them into Studsville, and he's not calling them directly into the quarterback's headset. He's calling them down to Charlie Fry because Charlie Fry is the quarterback's coach and he can speak the lingo. That made absolutely no sense.
Think about this. You have a married couple telling a third person what they want and tell that to a fourth person.
Right.
All that stuff's going on in the headset. You can hear all that. And the guy in the down knows. So the guy in the field knows. So he's basically hearing a married couple argue, and they want the third guy to tell the kid what to do. So that was a mistake that should never happen.
No, and Flores was this is what I didn't like about it. Flores was too stubborn to admit that his little plan there, because this is the first time I think in the history of the National Football League that anybody's tried this 2-headed monster at offensive coordinator. Flores
That's happened before. Run game coordinator, pass.
Yeah, that's
true.
That's true.
One guy's got to be in charge of it. One's just the title only.
Yeah.
The run game coordinator is just the title only. The pass game coordinator is the guy that calls it. He may ask the run game coordinator what to call, but it's the telephone game. You got one guy talking to another guy, talks to a third guy, talks to a fourth guy, and wonder why you don't have any continuity. It's explainable. I want one guy talking. That's it.
Well,
I can have somebody else signaling in, but that's it.
It almost reminds me. Over the past weekend, I watched a movie about Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, and it almost reminds me of one of the scenes in the movie where they've got a page that's going over to Lucille Ball's locker room, and Ms. Ball, we're just about ready for you to be on the set. She's like, well, you go tell my husband that I'll be down on the set as soon as he's on the set. So now he runs down to Desi's office or dressing room, and he tells Desi what she said, and Desi tells him, well, you tell her. That's what it sounds like to me that we had as our offensive coordinators.
Well, our offense was a problem. That system didn't work. Our defense was good enough to get us in the playoffs, but we have no continuity in offense. The players that the GM drafted on offense, they didn't work. So you got to hold accountability. So for me, Greer's got to fight for his job, and the offense coordinator has got to be fired. And we have to hire somebody that can run the offense the way Flores wants it. So it's still up to Flores, but he's the first-time head coach. He was scared. He said, if he doesn't want to get fired, he better lay his fist down and say, this is what I want our offense to be. This is what I want to call it.
And this is how it's going to be.
Fired next year.
Exactly. Well, and I also think, I'm sorry, but I don't like the offensive line coach. I don't like any of them. I don't like any of them. So the offensive line coach has got to change, in my opinion, as well. Hey, guys, great show. I think this was something that, John, you and I started out the season talking tough like this and some tough love towards this team. I love this team. But sometimes, as a fan, hey, I gotta call it like I see it. And unfortunately, guys, I'm not seeing what I want to see out of this team. I'm not seeing anything out of the offense that I want to see.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And it affects the defense. It has to. And I think that was part of the 1-7 start. There was no continuity on the offensive side of the ball, and I think we saw that there was no continuity despite the fact of the reports coming out of training camp to the contrary. Oh, the offense looks great. The offense looks great. I don't think it did in training camp. Or if it did, the defensive players were like, yeah, but it's training camp. We're not going 100. We're not going full speed. This is no, there's problems. I think that was known on the defensive side of the ball, and then we had a couple of little dinged up injuries on the defensive side of the ball. We missed Xavier Howard. We missed Byron Jones was out. Jalen Phillips, he takes a little bit of time to get going. Javon Holland, he takes a little bit of time to get going. They're rookies. You got Raekwon Davis missed what, 4 games? So
yeah, Raekwon Davis,
you know,
4.
We got to see some changes, and we hit them hard during that 1-7 stretch, John. We hit them hard, and we needed to. We took a little, we took a little off of them when they started winning games, but I kept, as much as I was trying to be as positive during that win streak as I could, I was like you. I'm drilling down through the statistics and really not liking what I'm seeing, because I'm like, no. There's an 800-pound gorilla in this room, and that 800-pound gorilla also comes with a cartoon balloon over his head that says if this doesn't get fixed statistically, and we start to see it on the statistics side of the pages where we're seeing that the offense is actually churning like an offense should, the end of this season and the offseason, we're going to be right back to those Deshaun Watson rumors.
We talked about this for 6 weeks during the skid.
Yeah.
And, even the win streak. And we were talking about, say the numbers still, they won the game and great for them, but the numbers don't add up. There are certain statistics you have to look at in a football game. And when those numbers don't add up, you may get a win, but that doesn't, like I always tell people, and guys never understood this. I go, I would rather play well and lose than play than play bad and win. And everybody goes, "Oh, you're an idiot. It's all about winning." I said, "No, it's not. Because if you're playing well week in, week out, you're going to win games."
Right.
I go, if you think you're going to play bad week in, week out and win games, you're going to be an idiot. So it doesn't matter if you won that game or not. The statistics don't lie. You lost.
Right.
So you have to go by what the numbers say. I think we're getting away from that too much.
I do too. I do too. I think coaches like Shula, Johnson, Coach Schnellenberger, I think those were guys that they looked over. They would have combed over these statistical pages to find those hidden mistakes that we find. It's
That's
interesting.
How you get better.
Yeah, that's how you get better. And the other thing too, I think, and this is something that I think the fans need to do, because I ordered the book. It's on the way. I love Pat Kerwin. I know you do too. I ordered his book. I ordered his book.
That was with me in New York.
Yeah. So I ordered. Have you read his book? Do you have his book?
No, I don't.
I ordered his book.
It's
called Take Your Eye Off the Ball. And it's interesting because that was something that Coach Madden told, it was either Bob Costas or it was somebody else. Oh, no, it was Matt Millen. When Matt Millen retired as a player and came into the broadcast booth, his advice that he got from Coach Madden was find the player that makes the play. And the player that makes the play isn't always the guy that throws the ball or runs the ball or catches the ball. As a matter of fact, the player that makes the play could be entirely over on the other side of the field from where the ball ends up.
Yep.
So Pat Kerwin,
that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So Pat Kerwin wrote a book called Take Your Eye Off the Ball as a way to teach the average fan how to watch the game, to actually watch the game from the standpoint of a coach or a GM.
Yeah, Pat was big in my life. He's one of the reasons I was starting for the Jets. He went out and found me. He's also the guy that cut me.
I know.
He said, "John, it's not your fault. You got injuries. We want to bring you back." And I said, "No, that's you pay me and I'll move on. I'll go down to Miami." But Pat was a big part of my life and very smart personnel guy. So I have the utmost respect for him, as well as do John Madden and Marv Levy and a lot of these coaches. You have to look at the numbers. The numbers will drive you where do you need to be.
Well, that's why, I run my other business, my main business. It's a sales organization, and we help other businesses. We're consultants, but I still have to get sales on my side on our business. And I drill down through our sales numbers because I want to find out what's selling, Why is it selling? Where is it selling? If I don't drill down through those numbers, I don't know where to put my advertising money. I don't know, so I'm a big number guy, and I'm going to drill down through various statistics watching a football game. I'm going to look at the final statistics, and I'm going to drill through that. And as I said, going through that 7-game win streak, yeah, it was great to see it. Oh, we just won 7 in a row. That's fantastic, because that's not easy to do in the National Football League. That's not easy to do in any league, okay? But we did it. But I kept drilling down through those statistics, and I'm like, the defense saved the day there. If we hadn't been for this, we would have lost this game. The offense wasn't doing what they needed to do. Some games they did fine, but there were other games.
They did enough. The offense did enough, but the defense did most of the work.
The defense did most of the work. And a lot of times the defense gets a pick six. The defense gets a sack at the most opportune time, or a strip sack, or something. The turnovers played a lot of it as well. If you can give the offense a short field, okay. But overall, if you look at, we had a couple of drives, I think, that the offense was able to go fairly long distances, but they can't do it often enough. Too often.
Yeah, it was mostly done by the defense. The defense was part of that 7-game win streak.
Yeah, the biggest part of it. Most of the time, the offense, the 3 and outs was way too many of them. And when you can't convert, that's the biggest thing that John and I always talked about. If you can't convert on 3rd down, you're not going to win in this league.
No, not at all.
All right, fellas. Any closing? I should say closing arguments.
No, I just hope he finishes the season strong. On Sunday.
I'd like to see us finish strong too. But other than that, great season of DOLFAN Radio. Great to be back finally, and we want to thank everybody for listening. And we'll be back next week, hopefully with a check mark in the W column.
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Safe travels.
All right, thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching or listening. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And for more great content, check us out on the web at www.dolfanradio.com.